What if the biggest risk to your financial future isn't a crash, a scam, or a market collapse, but the slow decay of the money itself? You work. You save. The numbers stay the same. But what those numbers can do changes. The same paycheck buys less. The same savings stretch thinner. It's not that your wallet shrank, it's that money's meaning shifted. We live in a world where the price of everything rises a little each year, and we call it normal. But behind that normal is one of the most powerful invisible forces in economics: inflation. In this episode of BrainFuel Reads MindFuel Sessions, we're unpacking inflation beyond the charts, not just as a number governments track, but as a story about trust, power, and survival. Why money loses value over time, how inflation quietly reshapes every economy, and why even the world's most used currency, the US dollar, is beginning to face its own reckoning. Let's begin. Most people think inflation means prices going up. That's not wrong, but it's incomplete. Inflation isn't about prices rising, it's about the value of money falling. A dollar that once bought a full meal might now buy only half. You didn't change, the money did. Every currency in history, from Roman coins to modern yen, shares this fate. Over time, it buys less. Why? Because money is human-made, and humans print, borrow, and spend more than what real productivity creates. The economy moves forward, but the money that measures it often expands faster than the value it represents. Inflation isn't random, it's powered by engines, some natural, some man-made. The first is demand pull. Too many people chasing too few goods. When optimism runs high, jobs are plentiful and credit is cheap, spending outpaces supply and prices get pulled upward. The second is cost push, when making things gets more expensive. Energy spikes, wages rise, materials cost more, and those costs ripple through every price tag. But there's also a third, quieter engine, policy choice. When governments print more money than the economy produces in real value, inflation becomes baked into the system. It's not always an accident, sometimes it's strategy. Printing stimulates demand, lifts short-term growth, and softens recessions. But every new dollar or yuan borrows purchasing power from the old ones. The short-term boost is paid for with long-term dilution. Some nations even accept inflation deliberately. China, for instance, has often tolerated higher domestic prices to keep factories running, jobs stable, and exports competitive. In that model, inflation isn't failure, it's fuel. A controlled fire that warms growth, even as it slowly burns value. The danger, of course, is that fires spread. Once inflation escapes the limits of control, it stops serving growth and starts consuming it. Here's the truth, not all inflation is bad. In fact, most modern economies are built to live with a little of it, around 1 to 3% a year. That steady pulse means the system is breathing. It encourages spending, rewards investment, and keeps wages flexible. A world with zero inflation isn't stable, it's frozen. Growth stops when prices don't move, because no one takes risks in a motionless economy. But even healthy inflation has a shadow. It quietly reminds you that holding cash is never neutral. Over time, the money you keep still moves backward, slowly, predictably, and invisibly. That's the trade-off every society makes, a bit of inflation for the chance to keep growing. The balance works until policy, panic, or excess push that pulse out of rhythm. And when the system beats too fast, that's when the world starts to feel the drift. Over the past decade, inflation stopped being quiet. Governments printed trillions to fight crises, first financial, then medical, then geopolitical. The result? Too much money chasing too few goods. Supply chains broke. Energy prices surged. Debt soared to levels no one can repay without creating more of the very thing causing the problem: more money. The polite label is stimulus. The real outcome is dilution. Your money didn't vanish. It just got divided into smaller pieces of the same pie. For nearly 80 years, the US dollar has been the world's anchor, the default currency for trade and the symbol of safety. But even anchors can drift. The more dollars America prints, the more the world begins to ask, is this stability or dependency? Nations like China, India, Brazil, and Russia, united under BRICS, are building systems to trade without using the dollar. Central banks across Asia and the Middle East are stockpiling gold at the fastest pace in decades. It's not rebellion, it's preparation. A quiet reshaping of global trust. When the most used currency starts to be questioned, it's not just an American story, it's a human one. For decades, the US dollar wasn't just a currency, it was the system. Almost every barrel of oil, every shipment of goods, every loan from the IMF flowed through it. Holding dollars meant safety, using them meant access. But power built on trust can also become leverage. Over time, nations began to notice something. Whoever controls the dollar doesn't just control trade, they control consequences. When the US imposes sanctions, it can freeze assets, block payments, and cut countries off from the global banking network overnight. The dollar became more than money. It became a switch that could be turned off. That realization, especially after sanctions on Russia and Iran, shook governments worldwide. What if the same switch could one day be used against them? That fear, mixed with ambition, gave birth to BRICS, a coalition of emerging economies searching for balance. Their goal isn't simply to replace the dollar, but to reduce dependence on it. By settling trade in local currencies, building cross-border payment systems outside SWIFT, and backing reserves with gold or real resources, they aim to build a safety net, a world where economic survival isn't decided by one nation's policy. Gold, once symbolic, is now strategic. Every ton added to national reserves is a quiet vote of no confidence in the existing system and a hedge against its instability. This shift isn't rebellion, it's insurance. A slow, methodical move to regain control over value. The message beneath it all is simple. The world doesn't hate the dollar. It just doesn't want to be owned by it. You can't stop inflation, but you can stop standing still. The danger isn't that prices rise, it's that your money waits while the world keeps moving. Across history, wealth hasn't come from holding cash, it's come from holding what grows: homes, businesses, ideas, and broad ownership of the economy. Things that earn, build, and compound while you sleep. That's the quiet truth. Idle money melts. Working money multiplies. Gold may play its part, a hedge against uncertainty, a reminder that real value endures beyond paper. If you want to explore gold's role in this shifting world, check out our episode on it right here on the channel. Inflation isn't the enemy. Inertia is. The goal isn't to chase returns, it's to keep motion alive. Because the moment your money stops moving, time starts taking its share. Inflation is polite. It never knocks. It never shouts. It just arrives, in the rent, in the grocery aisle, in the quiet math of your goals, and moves the finish line. But now you see it. You know what drives it and how it feeds on trust. Because when money stands still, life moves on. The real task isn't to freeze your wealth, it's to make sure it can move with the world. If this episode reframed how you think about money, do one small thing today that your future self would thank you for. Give your dollars a job that outruns the drift. If this session gave you a new perspective on your money, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And subscribe to BrainFuel Reads for more deep dives into the ideas that shape our lives. Until next time, keep your brain fueled.